So what happens when homeowners wait too long to address a leak or even a flood in their home?
If you were to not address it in a timely manner, resulting in damaged materials or growth or other things that were affected, insurance has the right to deny you under the pretense of neglect. Also, if you were to file an insurance claim, not every single water loss is covered by insurance. And that's one thing that's very important is for people to know what your policy do and don't cover. A lot of people do not have sump pump coverage and they don't realize it until you need it.
Welcome to Lawrence Real and Local, Keeping It Real podcast presented to you by the Lawrence Board of Realtors. We're your go-to source for all things real estate in Lawrence, Kansas. I'm Lexie Haskin with Bank Midwest.
And I'm Patrick Dipman with McGrew Real Estate. Together, we are here to make the journey to homeownership a breeze. Join us as we share insider insights, expert advice, and a dose of fun along the way.
Hello, welcome to Lawrence Real and Local, Keeping It Real podcast by the Lawrence Board of Realtors. My name is Lexie Haskin with Bank Midwest.
And I'm Patrick Dipman with McGrew Real Estate.
And we are joined here today with Kelly Langseth with Rainbow Restoration of Northeast Kansas. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
And I was just saying before we started recording that I think this is a much needed episode because, I don't know what I would do if my house flooded or if there was a fire or different things like that. I would be so lost. I'd be in the dark.
Plus, just understanding when you see something, is it something you can just, I'm going to monitor that, or am I just going to ignore it, or do I need to actually call somebody to get ahead of this?
Sure. A lot of times people think that maybe it's something that they can handle on their own, which we always recommend, especially at Rainbow. We don't charge for assessments. And so it's always a good idea to have someone out there that knows what they're doing. Check your materials after a water loss, see how far the water's traveled and different things that are affected. And then, if it's something we can certainly service you for, we're certainly happy to, but we're always honest with our customers if it's something that is not necessarily needed for professional help. But then that way you have peace of mind knowing that you're not risking further damage to your home.
Yeah.
When you, how did you get into Rainbow Restoration?
Yeah, give us some of your background. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. So I am a Lawrence native. I've always been in customer service administrative type roles. I started at Rainbow about 5 years ago. And I've done a little bit of everything in that job. I primarily do marketing and office management now, but there's been times where I've had opportunity to go out in the field, work with the technicians, which I enjoy doing that. One, not just for the experience with them, but two, it helps me understand what's actually going on out there. What does it mean for a Category 3 loss? What does it mean for microbial growth? Just to have a better understanding of what services that we offer to people.
Yeah.
So what specific services do you offer to people?
Sure. So we are an IICRC and KDHE certified company. We do water mitigation, mold remediation, asbestos abatement, bioforensic cleanup, carpet cleaning, upholstery cleaning. We also do emergency board up service. Say a tree fell through your house, or we service for companies if someone drove through their storefront, things like that would be like a board up service.
And if somebody has a fire, and I'm sorry if this was included in the services and I just didn't catch it, and they need their items.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, we actually have a really cool machine. It's called an ultrasonic machine. It is ran off of sound waves. We do use that when we're doing content restoration. And content restoration mostly is from fire, but not always. We have people that ended up having a mold issue in their house, and grandma's antique treasure chest was down there, and they want to restore it. So there's a lot of different reasons why someone might do content restoration.
Yeah. I didn't even know content restoration was a thing until I talked to Kelly. I actually saw a presentation she did, and it was really cool. I love seeing I guess I shouldn't say I love seeing pictures of people's disasters, but I liked seeing the before and after.
Yeah. And, it's real interesting because every single situation is different, whether it's a water loss, whether it's a fire, and you have to treat everything on an individual basis, and every homeowner is different. And so it's a very, have to go with the flow. And certainly customer service is something that we really want to make sure that we're connecting with people on, because it's a very stressful situation when you're dealing with, vulnerability of a loss within your home.
Yeah. What type of calls would you say you get the most often?
I would say water mitigation and remediation jobs, asbestos jobs being that it's an older material. It's not an everyday thing, but we certainly do that at times as well.
Yeah.
I want to get into the water, but how do you mitigate asbestos?
Well, so abating asbestos, there's, you certainly want to make sure you have the proper containment set up, that you're shutting off the ventilations. There's certain practices and protocols for each type of job to make sure you're not risking the environment more. If you just start tearing into asbestos, it's kind of similar to mold, where once you start opening up those materials, then those spores are in the air, and then it's getting to other parts of your homes. You're breathing it in, and you're affecting the environment. So going about it the appropriate way is important, so you're not risking further damage to the property and or your health.
Wow.
What do people misunderstand when they hear restoration?
Sometimes people think restoration, they think that, if we're restoring your home after a water loss, that they think that their things are going to be new again. They're not going to be new again, but we will restore them to pre-loss condition. And that's also, when it comes to insurance claims, what they will cover is pre-loss condition. You won't automatically get, and sometimes you do get a new floor or other new materials, but just knowing that it's to restore to the pre-loss condition.
Let's kind of go through the water mitigation or the water issues. Okay, so when those come up, typically, what do you see? You see a broken pipe and then...
Sure. I mean, you can have a water loss from a number of different things. Sometimes it's a broken pipe. Sometimes it's a faulty appliance, toilet overflow, sump pump gave out. Sometimes it's faulty materials in your home, whether it be your roof or your siding or, your windows aren't gapped. There's a number of ways that water can be intrude inside the building, even just from Mother Nature. And, once you let that water sit there, if given the right environment, 48 to 72 hours later, you're risking growth given the right environment, which then that's a whole nother ball game that you're dealing with.
So what do you wind up doing? You go in there.
Right. So we go in there. Once we do an assessment, our project manager or one of our lead techs will check and see how far the moisture has traveled. And a lot of times there's hidden things that you don't really know till someone that knows what to look for goes in and looks for. So say you had a washing machine overflow, we're going to extract whatever standing water, we're going to set up the appropriate equipment. And that really depends on how far the moisture spread, the type of environment, just as far as how many equipments and angles that they might need to do it. And we always go back every day to check on the materials, make sure it's drying properly. Do we need to make any accommodations to continue to stabilize the environment so you're not risking further damages?
Yeah. I mean, so what happens when homeowners wait too long to address a leak or even a flood in their home?
Sure. Yeah. Well, besides the risk of microbial growth occurring, but also if you were to file an insurance claim, not every single water loss is covered by insurance. And that's one thing that's very important is for people to know what your policy do and don't cover. A lot of people do not have sump pump coverage and they don't realize it until you need it. But if you were to not address it in a timely manner, resulting in damaged materials or growth or other things that were affected, insurance has the right to deny you under the pretense of neglect. So it's always a good idea, have us come out, check it out, see if it's, something that, you really do need to go ahead and do a little more rather than wiping it up. Because there's a lot of times people think that they don't see moisture at the surface, that they wiped it up, but that does not mean that it hasn't traveled to underneath on subfloors or between walls. Stuff that you don't necessarily see to the naked eye.
What might somebody be looking for just as telltale signs if they saw something?
If it had water loss before?
Let's say that they're not even aware that there's a water issue, but maybe we get going and they see something.
Sure. If you were to look at materials will either have discoloration, sometimes you get odor, materials can become brittle, or you can see them swell. And so, and sometimes people realize it and sometimes they don't realize their dishwasher's been leaking. Or if it's a basement area that has some faulty foundation that's, water's been coming in. But certainly just kind of peeking in kind of hidden areas of your home every little once in a while, under sinks and kind of in crawl spaces and things like that. It's always a good idea just to check because they are more susceptible to having water intrusion in some way, shape, or form.
I like the thought of peeking in the hidden areas of the home. That's probably something people don't check.
Correct,
but could check.
Yes. Yeah, we get people that will go to clean out their basement, once a year and, it wasn't there last year, but, kind of gets hidden in there sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, that does kind of lead into the next question too about vulnerable places in the homes. Would you say those are the most vulnerable, or would there be other places that people should look?
I mean, a water loss can happen at any place in the home. Where a lot of them do tend to happen is in the basement areas because, again, that's not necessarily a daily living space, as well as there's a lot of storage down there. If you have faulty landscaping and that water's been rushing into a certain area, or if you had faulty foundation, things like that. So basements do tend to be a little bit more risky, but also even if you had a water loss, water's going to travel down, even if it's on, a main floor going down into the basement. So unfortunately, a lot of times that's where things can be found.
Yeah. Is there a time of year where water loss might be more prevalent than others?
We get a ton in the spring. You'd be surprised how many people don't do the proper preparations when it comes to the winter months and frozen pipes and spigots and things like that. And people go to water their lawn come spring, and then next thing you know, it's raining in the living room.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is like a horror episode for me. Just thinking about that happening to me.
Yeah.
But I did take the hoses off. I did take that.
That's good.
They are off. I did do the prep.
Good.
Yeah, and there's always a lot of other things that you can do to kind of guard yourself from risk of things like that. But also, if it's wintertime, leaving a drip in your sink or leaving the cabinet doors open. Obviously, with fires, make sure you have proper working smoke detectors, fire extinguishers. Don't leave candles unattended. So, just always being mindful of what's going on in your property is the best way to be preventative. But sometimes things are inevitable, and that's where we come in.
So even kind of talking about fire and smoke damage. So when they think about fire damage, they're thinking flames. But what damage could even happen without even having that large fire?
Sure. And we see a fair amount of this, especially in Lawrence, because there's so many rentals. They think just because not everything around it's charred that it's okay. Soot travels in any and every which way. It doesn't just touch the surface of things. It'll go up and underneath materials and either completely saturate them where they're not salvageable, or, sometimes you can save those. But it's just because you don't see it at the at the surface doesn't mean that there's not toxins that are in your air. It doesn't mean that your HVAC system didn't pull it from this room over here and bring it over here into your baby's room. But also, it affects your contents, whether it's in that direct area or not. Would you want your kiddo putting something in their mouth because you don't know how far that soot traveled and what's on those materials, just because it may not be a heavy soot, but that doesn't mean that it's not there and it doesn't need to be addressed to get taken care of.
Yeah.
A lack of addressing that, what can that do to materials? Obviously, with a kid, that could affect them. But
sure. Yeah. Well, as far as smoke damage goes, it really does saturate into the materials. When we do content restoration, it's not just cleaning of it, but it's also the ozone process of it as well, where you just need to pull those odors out of the pores of the materials that they sought into.
What's that process look like?
So we do kind of a pre-clean where we get all the eye level soot out. Like I said, we have a machine that it's based off of sound waves. You kind of dip it in. It kind of looks like a really big fry machine, to be honest with you. It's pretty cool. If you ever have a chance, come by, check it out. It's a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, it's ran off of sound waves, and it's kind of a kitchen line, if you will, where it's the pre-clean. And then you get into a little bit more because you don't want to just dip it in dirty water over and over. So there's an assembly line. And then obviously we pack up everything, make sure everything's properly dry before we pack it up because you don't want to put it away wet, obviously. Get everything in the appropriate wraps so then it can be stored on our site until it's ready to go back to the home once the home has been restored.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, that is obviously great for being able to get the dangerous materials out of just anything. But how would you say that it could also affect the home and the health if people don't do stuff like that to make sure everything's A-okay?
Sure. I mean, certainly any sort of toxins that you get into your respiratory system is damaging to your health. And unfortunately, there are a lot of immune comparable people out there that, you don't want that in general, but certainly you wouldn't want, your grandmother or your children or, people that are in your home to get that in their systems as well.
Yeah. Are there My words are not working.
Take your time.
Are there harder parts of homes to restore or get back to the way that they need to be after a fire or smoke damage?
Not necessarily. Like I had shared earlier, every job is different. Every home is different. Every homeowner is different. So you have to treat everything customary. Someone might have a very plain Jane cookie cutter kitchen and it's easy to take down. Some people have nicer homes and they have things that you have to be more delicate and mindful, and you have to approach differently when you're going through those processes.
Yeah.
When somebody has water loss, fire damage, or something else, they're stressed over what to do and who to call. Who do they tend to need to call first? Is it insurance? Is it you?
Sure. Well, the first thing you want to do is if you have a water loss is stop the source, whether it is shutting off water to, whatever that item is, because we can go in and extract, but if you don't fix whatever the problem is, it's just going to keep on recurring. But yeah, we give the free estimates. We're happy to kind of help guide you, give you a general idea of what you would be looking at. Some people have a $1,500 deductible. Some people have a $5,000 deductible. But to give you a little bit of information on what you're up against and what you need to do, to get that, stabilize that environment. And then, when it comes to insurance companies, we do work with them a lot of times. And a lot of times people don't know what type of coverage they have. And they're stressed. It's a very personal situation to go through. And so that's a big part. That's our responsibility, is to make sure we're advocating for those homeowners to get them as much coverage, versus not knowing what to ask and not knowing what steps to do, just to try to help guide them through that process.
If there is something that a homeowner can do after you're doing that assessment, do you help them figure out what they can DIY per se, or how the resources to figure out how they could do it?
Sure. And we sometimes will have that where someone will just basically want the information of how to do it. And, we're always happy to educate within reason. Obviously we want to be there. We're a business and we're there to do business. But we also operate very openly and honestly. And if there's something that's not appropriate and it would not be a good business choice to say, hey, you absolutely can't do this yourself, when they really could. But that's how you build rapport with people, is being upcoming and honest and having good transparency. It does really mean a lot when you do work with someone and they do say, hey, I could do this for you. It'd be like $500, or you could get this one part on Amazon. It's like $30. Correct.
Well, so somebody did that to me, and I was very thankful.
Well, and you never know if someone is going to truly need you one day. And we've had that before where someone said, hey, you took the time, you came over here, you visited with me, you gave me your suggestions. We didn't use you then, but hey, we really need you now. And so that's part of what the relationship that you have with the community and just knowing that you're a company that looks out for everyone's best interest.
Yeah.
Since this is a real estate focused podcast, anytime somebody's going through a transaction or selling their own home, there is value in having something professionally mitigated and addressed versus I use some kills on it myself.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And it's always a good idea to ask your realtor, are they aware of any sort of loss before? If there was, did they have it properly taken care of? Because if you find out that there are, and they didn't do it, then for your own protection, you're going to want to make sure that you're not investing in something that's going to come back and bite you in the rear later on.
Yeah.
Do you do, well, I know you do, but can you talk about your post restoration testing and things like that people have moving forward?
Sure. Well, so we don't do any testing at Rainbow. We always encourage people to get some air quality testing done afterwards, especially if you're selling a home. So one that's, it's worth the money to have it in black and white that, there's no concerns because unfortunately people will come back after you after the sale of a home, even if it's something that had nothing to do with you from the get-go. But it's always just good to protect yourself and have any sort of follow-up like that taken care of.
Great.
So when something happens, people are stressed, kind of going back to insurance, because we started to touch on it a little bit, but we didn't actually get down into some of the nitty-gritty questions. So, well, I mean, I guess we kind of did with the process that you're talking about, but I just also wanted to see, like, are there different places that you tell people to look on their policy to see if they can actually get that, or do you have them talk to their insurance person directly? And sorry, additional question onto that. Is it easier to work with somebody local agent versus a big company that somebody might have just found online?
Sure. That's actually a really great question. It is very smart to have a local agent because when you have something like this, you don't want to have to be dealing with an 800 number or waiting for someone to follow up. So, definitely having timely response, someone that you can go and talk to, and someone that can explain your policy to you. Sitting down and talking with someone face-to-face is definitely much more valuable than a random person on the other end of the line. And generally, if it's someone that you're sitting down face-to-face with a local provider, they're going to want to talk with you a little bit more about those coverages. Are you moving into a floodplain? Is there other things to maybe be mindful of that, might be good to add to your policy to make sure you have those coverages? Because not every situation's the same. Not every customer's the same, so it's always, just like anything else in life, it's very individualized.
Yeah.
And well, for me, I would expect too, if I had some sort of loss on a Thursday or Friday, and I need it addressed, I don't really want to wait till a Monday for somebody to come out and take a look at it.
Yeah. We offer emergency services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. What we consider emergency service is more water loss. Other services, it's not, sometimes people will feel it's an emergency if they have a mold problem, but in all reality, they've had it there for about a year. It's not going to change. So we might have you wait for a Monday till then. But with the water loss, we definitely want to respond right away because you don't want to get into that gray area where you're looking at risking further damage. Because once you let materials get damaged to where they have to be removed, not only do you have to have it removed, but then you have the put back, you have the more time and invasion of your, of your home. So it's best to address it timely for several reasons.
So what documentation or steps can homeowners take immediately to kind of after damage occurs for insurance as well?
Sure. I always recommend taking pictures, making notes for yourself. And that can be overwhelming, when you're trying to go through things, but or recalling things, but definitely documenting things. And that's one thing that we do a lot. We, make a lot of notes, make a lot of pictures and things like that, because one, insurance will require it of you to be able to pay out on your claim. But also, you don't remember everything. And it's just good to give yourself something to reflect back to.
Yeah. I mean, are there any preventative steps that people could even take before things happen to just reduce the risk of water or fire damage?
Just making sure that your pipes are, if something's starting to look like it's having a leak, don't wait till fully bust, or if you know that your water heater is starting to get rusty, don't wait till it's, if it's something that you can prevent ahead of time. And again, just being mindful of what's going on in your home. If it's time to get a new roof, that's a bummer, but sometimes you got to
get that new roof.
You got to get that new roof. So
and just to be clear, on a water pipe, duct tape is not sufficient.
Yeah, I wouldn't. And one thing that every person should know is where your main shutoff valve is to your home, because not everything has an individual shutoff valve like a toilet or a sink. Like sometimes it's just in that main line. So that's one thing that I always recommend, that someone know where it's at in their home and how to properly turn it off.
Even right now, when if I'm out of town and there's nobody at my house and it's the winter time, I'll shut all the water off to the house because I'm like, I'm probably nothing's going to happen, but what if the power did go out?
Correct.
And all of a sudden now you don't have a furnace running.
Sump pump's not working. Yep. It happens. It happens more than you think, unfortunately.
And those darn crawl spaces too. I mean, in a house that my parents had rented out for me in college, it had this big crawl space underneath. And then at one point, we just heard the sump pump. It was just working, wasn't doing anything. And there was probably about a foot of water in the crawl space. And that makes sense why I had mold on my headboard.
Oh, yes.
My bed.
Yeah, it spreads.
But I didn't even realize that it was there because, it was painted black. But then when we went to move the bed, it was on the back of it. And then on the wall. And I was just like, oof, yikes. And then, of course, we open up the crawl space, foot of water. And then my dad was down there trying to like get it working again and doing all the things, and it finally got the water out and got it dry down there. But I mean, it's a process and it does affect things.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about crawl spaces and other places you can't see. Attics for me too.
Yes, attics as well. Yeah, so poor ventilations from attics. We see people end up getting growth from those, as well as obviously faulty materials. So that's anywhere in the home is prone to have some sort of remediation need.
Yeah. Would you say that duct cleaning? How often do you think duct cleaning should happen for at least for air quality?
About every, I'd say maybe 8 years is a good number.
Would you say more often for people that have pets?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a lot of particles in your air, it's a good idea to do it. Also, if you're immune compromised, just to make sure you're, changing your filters regularly. And that's also an important thing as well. Make sure your dryer vents aren't clogged, things like that. Just keeping up on just general maintenance in your home is preventative.
And we do have a maintenance episode that comes out before this one too. So if you want to know about home maintenance, go check that one out.
The dryer duct cleaning is very good too.
Yes, that's very important. And we actually had that very recently in my house as well. So, and sometimes I'm a little bit paranoid, like, I'm glad I didn't catch my house on fire. It wasn't really that bad, but just being in the field kind of makes you a little more paranoid sometimes.
You're like, oh gosh, do I have this? Oh, that could happen. Yeah.
My 8-year-old spills something. I'm like, don't make mold.
There's a lot of houses, they'll go right out. There's a lot of other houses, though, that it goes to the right and it goes up and it goes across.
Yes, very much. Not sure who creates some of those designs, but they do.
Yep.
Yeah. So would you say that unresolved water, like fire damage, could also affect a resale value of a home, or does that more come to you?
Well, things that are not addressed will absolutely create a hiccup. And for me, I tell sellers, if you're selling a house and this hasn't been addressed, or you have the opportunity to have it multiple bids, to have somebody take a look at it, to control the process. If something like that's found when you're under contract, now you have buyers who want to have input on what happens and things like that. So,
yes, yeah, and those situations can get very tricky. We've had a number of times where the buyers and the sellers will agree, and they out of proceeds is we'll go ahead and get the work going so they can still plan to close on time, and then we'll just collect from the proceeds, and then that way we can kind of help everything keep on moving along.
Yeah.
So one of them, this includes the lender, but if you find something and it doesn't get addressed, then that's a problem for the loan of the house.
Correct.
So,
yeah, it can get denied if there's things that are not addressed. Because again,
especially if it comes up on the appraisal.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to invest, nor does the financial institution want to invest in something that there's a risk from the get-go.
Yeah. So, I mean, what would you say the most expensive mistake you see that homeowners make in general after damage occurs?
Not responding to it timely, and just thinking, "Hey, I handled it myself. It looks dry at the surface," and then later on, they're starting to see their floors are cupping. They're seeing the walls discoloration. Something smells funky over there. So definitely getting to things timely is very crucial, as well as from the insurance aspect to make sure they know that you're taking care of the property.
You had said that earlier. If you don't address it when it would have been something that would have been addressed and covered up front, then...
Correct. Well, and a lot of policies do not have mold coverage. So they'll, and unfortunately, but realistically, if an insurance company can say, hey, that's not under, what we would expect, as a responsible homeowner, they have the right to do that. But again, and sometimes we get into that, and then we'll talk to insurance companies about, it being heavy water damage and things like that, just to try to, help advocate for the customers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would you say is one piece of advice that you would give it to every homeowner that you wish that they would remember when it comes to emergencies?
Just give us a call. We're happy to help. We have someone answering the phone 24 hours a day, 785-371-2400. We'll be happy to come check it out.
Sweet. Do we do fact or fiction really quick?
We can. Let's roll through it.
I say you start this time.
Okay. If the water dries, the damage is over.
Fiction.
Bleach kills all mold.
Big fiction.
If you don't see damage, there isn't any.
Fiction.
Fact.
No. A lot of people don't realize the damage on the backside of materials.
Yeah.
Really.
Smoke damage is mostly cosmetic.
No, fiction.
Homeowners insurance always covers water damage.
Usually, but again, sometimes people don't have those coverages that they need. So definitely make sure you know what's on that policy.
You can fully DIY water damage cleanup.
If you're licensed to do mitigation and you have the equipment and you know you're doing it right, sure. But otherwise, I'd probably call a professional.
Fire damage only affects the area that burned.
Incorrect. You have those particles that are floating around and getting into the toxins into your air.
Restoration companies only come in after major disasters.
That's not true. You know, some jobs are small jobs and some jobs are huge jobs, but it's always a good idea to have it checked out. So it's not always a huge catastrophic situation for us to come in. It's everyday life. Your dishwasher overflowed while you're gone at work. You came home at 5 o'clock. There it is. You need someone to address it for you. So,
yeah.
I appreciate you coming in. And one of the things I was thinking as you were talking is all the information you need when you don't know you need it.
Correct.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And even if you don't need it right now, you might need it in the future.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like, I might not think I need it right now, so I'm not going to think about this, but there's going to come a time where you're in a crisis.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I think too, people just think it won't happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I see it happen to that person, but no way would that happen to me.
Right. Yes. And again, some things you can do all the preventatives and that's wonderful. That's smart. But sometimes things are inevitable. Mm-hmm. Things break, things give out and life happens.
Yeah. Life happens.
That's right.
And then you have to adult.
That's right.
Period. Well, thank you again for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you to the Lawrence Public Library for letting us use this space.
This is a cool space.
And you can rent it for free.
That's what I learned when I was sitting out there talking with the gentleman. Yeah,
so
cool.
we always make sure to give them a little shout out.
Yeah.
So
very nice.
Thank you very much, and we'll be signing off.
Thanks for joining us on Lawrence Real and Local Keeping It Real podcast. We appreciate our guests taking the time to join us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed today's episode.
For more information, please visit us on the web at www.lawrencerealtor.com. And remember, whether you are buying, selling, or simply dreaming of buying your future home, we're here to help. Until next time, keep it real.
And happy house hunting.